Party people, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. Day, I don't even know what day we're on, 17 or something. Day 17 of Vinus Keys. I am off track because I last night stayed up till 3 a.m. on this morning, which is Friday. Well, it was Friday. Now it's 1 a.m. or so on Saturday morning, technically. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I've got a rave to be at from Saturday night, 10 p.m. to Sunday morning, 3 a.m. So I decided the previous 2 nights stay up till 3 a.m. so that hopefully I can dance the night away Saturday night into early Sunday morning and not be half falling asleep in the middle of this rave. And so I've been having caffeine at weird hours, and I woke up today at like 10 a.m. Saturday, I'm going to wake up later, probably around noon, and then try to try to go back to sleep again, like take a nap before I head out to this rave. So, yeah, it's hard for me with the late hours, so technically I'm still in Friday. I didn't record first thing in the morning because it took me a while to get my head together, and I just kind of wanted to chill. So yeah, this next chapter, I'm only gonna do the 2 pages or so for, actually, let me say, I'll just do the 1 page. So 1 page, page 39, because I think we're a little bit ahead anyways. So page 39, Happily Unhappy. I'm just going to only do that page right now. So basically that page is talking about, wishes, desires, and, the difference between, wishing for something and actually truly having like a deep desire for something. And so, I've when I like something, I tend to listen to it more than once or watch it more than once. So I'm like that with movies, with YouTube videos, with all kinds of stuff. I'll give it a break for a while till I kind of forget enough of it that I can rewatch it again. And, so there's this, people who know me really well, that I really like metal music. And so, I like heavy music, I like hard music, I like soft music, I like all kinds of music, but I'm really into metal. And, I've been really into Chris Garza's podcast. He's a guitarist in Suicide Silence, and I think he lives over in Corona in LA. And so he basically is how shall I say, he's a metal musician, basically. I think his family are musicians as well, or involved in the music scene. His parents were to some extent, and I don't know exactly what, but like Latin music scenes in LA when he was growing up. So he's been around music his whole life. And, I came across this podcast, I think when I was like, rewatching some Cold Chamber music videos during the pandemic, the Rona. And, I heard this episode with him and Miguel Rascon. So Miguel Rascon, he has been one of my favorite guitarists since like high school, and I kind of fell off listening to certain types of music since I've been in San Diego. Like, not that I don't listen to it, it's just I don't actively like follow finding new stuff too much up until more recently, like in 2022. And so maybe 2021, I don't know. But, the Rona times were different because I started getting back into a lot of stuff that I'd totally just been avoiding and ignoring. And so the reason why I bring up the interview with Meigs Rascon and Chris the one that Chris Garza, hosted, is that, that really resonated with me because, it was great to hear a musician that I've loved for so long, and now he's like in his 40s, and like hearing him talk, about how it was when he was like in his 20s and 30s, and when I was kind of like into the band in my teens and later on in life too, in college and everything. And I really gravitated towards the music, and how he was talking about, when you're a musician and you want not necessarily the fame, but it's like you want to be able to kind of be successful as an artist and as a musician, and pour your heart and soul into your music, into your craft, all the energy. And I was listening to the singer of it was a Sepultura, what's his name, Green, I don't remember his name, something Green. I'm so bad with names, you guys. It's like so ridiculous. I sound like I never know what I'm talking about because I can't remember anybody's name. I'll find this name. I know it, but I just can't remember, honestly. My head's not right. Okay, so Derek Green of Sepultura, the singer, the now singer. So basically, he was talking to Chris Garza in an interview about his experiences with just like when you kind of are really into something, when it comes to music like metal, and just kind of how there's that energy with it, and your energy as a musician kind of like fuels like the energy of like the crowd, or the music itself just kind of like fuels your energy. It's like your own energy is going into the music, and then again that music is in turn kind of like fueling your own energy. And it's a pretty powerful force. I think a lot of people don't like metal. I know that people just can't get into it or whatever. It's too loud, it's too like the screaming, whatever. But that's something that I've always gravitated towards, was just because lyrically they tend to talk about really deep topics. I don't mind music that's just like fun, like what's that song by Blink-182? It's like it's Christmas Eve and my grandpa just ate 7 fucking hot dogs or whatever. Like funny songs like that, or like whatever. But I also like songs that are kind of more relatable to like real life emotions, real life experiences, things like just like trauma and relationship difficulties, and just complexities of life, and just like how we get in our own way, and sometimes like more political things and social issues and stuff like that. Like metal does have a focus on a lot of those different areas, whereas other music, even if it does, it's kind of more milder, and there's not really that like I wouldn't say there's no passion behind it, but there's not that same like intensity of energy. And the reason why I was mentioning Derek Green is because I was like, he explained it exactly. He was like explaining exactly what it was that usually was like resonating with me with metal, which is why I liked it. And I still do. And then hearing Meigs Rascon talking about his early career days, just about like how they were like they were just like hungry for what they were trying to trying to get, like the goals they were trying to reach. And like, you know, it was like a healthy competition. I don't know if people were in LA like in the 90s when there was just like, this is like pre-YouTube, really. Like, I think YouTube maybe existed, but it wasn't like it is now, pre kind of podcast, pre-smartphone. Like, maybe these things were around, but they weren't like everybody knew about it, everybody was into it. Like, it was kind of just more like a thing that was like there, but it wasn't really something that like everybody was engaging with on such a regular basis. Like Instagram, TikTok, I don't think even existed. Like, and he was talking about, when they would have posters and flyers and they would put them all over in Hollywood, and, people would come to shows and they would start selling out shows and stuff like that. And it, back then it was different. Like, you would like look around, you'd go to coffee shops or local spots where there would be open mics or like local band shows and stuff, and you'd pick up flyers, like these little bitty flyers for bands and stuff. And then quarter sheets, and it would have all the bill on there, and like $5 cover or like whatever. It was usually pretty chill, and a lot of stuff was low key, low price, low cost. It wasn't like such a, like the bands were really great and really good and really accessible to see. Like, it was easy to see everybody. Bands like Korn, I don't know if POD I would throw in that mix, maybe a little bit. Like a lot of the LA bands, the bands that were like around in LA, like it was just, it was crazy. Like the 90s were like nuts, and there were all these bands just like, like rock music was like pretty popular, and it was, you could tell there was like something in the culture of it. It's really hard to explain in words, but I don't see it now. Like, I see it more now after the Rona, people getting more into, like, yes, like I love this band and I can finally see them, and like I'm willing to pay like $200 to $400 to go see my favorite bands now that I could have seen when I was in high school for like $5 to $15. It's like, it's kind of ridiculous price ranges and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just insane. But the value behind it too is like, it's a lot of like, there's a lot of memories and emotions and kind of just like time periods just kind of like attached to certain songs, certain albums. Like, where were you when you used to listen to these songs? Like, oh, I used to be driving to or from Irvine every day listening to the same dang album, I would do this or I would do that. And then like, but just basically hearing those guys, talk about, from a musician's perspective of like, the hunger that they had. Like, they weren't necessarily hungry for food. It was like, you're hungry for some specific type of, I don't want to call it lifestyle or financial gain, but just like a style, a type of success that really is kind of wrapped up in a lot of like, emotion and, your own like craft that you're passionate about, and, definitely the passion behind it too. Like, I think, that's the difference between somebody saying, oh, I want this, or I want that, or I wish my life was like this or like that, and then somebody who's just like, by all means, like, I'm not saying like taking advantage of people, but by all means, they're going the distance, they're going, the route that they need to take, just fearlessly, just to kind of get what they need. And they're not in that part of their mind that's like talking them down. And even if they are, they're just still going through the motions and just doing it. And like I've been there in parts of my life where I've been like just like so into something that like there was nothing that could make my day gray or bad or negative. It was like whatever, just like get up, go, like you didn't sleep enough, whatever, get up, go, just go do it. Like, there was no like, I'm tired today. It was like, no, like I want to learn this, I want to do this, I'm getting somewhere, I can see myself improving, and like, just being in the process of it and just absorbing every part of it, without being able to be knocked down, without being able to be, swayed, or redirected or like led off track or unfocused. You're just like always in it, always there, always present, always just like striving and like putting in the work and putting in the effort. And of course, balancing all the other stuff too. I feel like just naturally, it just comes with the territory that when you're kind of thriving in like a passionate part of your life, you're able to really kind of, hold true to like things that are going to help you. Like, because you care about it and you know what it takes to kind of get it done. Like, I'm not talking about like, living an unhealthy lifestyle, just like push, and like, pushing yourself into sickness or anything like that. But I just mean like, you can tell when you're on and when you're like just in go mode and just like, this is what you want. You know exactly what you want, and you think about it with a smile on your face, and that's kind of what you want to do. And I remember feeling that way like about school, like in grad school at times, like with my thesis. I remember feeling that way with music at a certain point. Like, I wasn't trying to get famous or anything, but just like the way I used to approach like learning and writing music was just very, just when I did artistic things, I was very much like just like into it, like I couldn't wait to come home and do that. I couldn't wait to be just like diving back into this certain project or whatever it was. And for me, that is kind of the way I would explain the difference between how life, to a certain extent, I found it easier a while ago when I was kind of more passionate about things and just had that energy behind it, where it was just like, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, and I'm getting there, and I can see it every moment of every day. I'm getting closer and closer, and even if it was going to take years, I was like, I can see it, and there was like nothing that was really a roadblock until I started hitting all the roadblocks and everything. But yeah, I can definitely see the difference between how things used to be at a certain point in my life compared to like kind of how they've been in the last couple years. It's like, just going through the motions. Like, I've talked about it before, like, it's like even when I was working before 2023, there were multiple months at that job where I was just like, wake up, just do it, just go through the motions, do the job, and there was like zero passion behind it. I didn't care. Like, I did the work well, I did really good, I made sure the client care was high quality, I did the best I could, but I was just like, man, I'm not feeling it. Like, I wasn't feeling it at all. Like, there was like no passion behind any of that. I was just like, this is just what I do because it's what I do. Literally, that was how I felt about it. It was like, this is what I do because I want to be able to go out with my friends, or like, hang out or go party or whatever, or go do activities. And it was just kind of like what paid for my lifestyle. But other than that, I wasn't really passionate about the work I was doing after a certain point. I didn't have a lot of drive like behind it, motivation, none of that. Like, it just kind of like, I didn't really feel it. And I know a lot of people have been there. I know a lot of people are there now. And I do feel like it's hard to put a finger on, like, what is it that's going on? What is it that doesn't feel the way that I would like? Why don't I feel good? And then it's like, when I start looking at the big picture, oftentimes it's like, well, that kind of stuff is what it is, like when a person leads a life and lives every day without that passion, energy behind kind of what they're doing, without that kind of hunger kind of in their eyes, like about like what they're trying to do, and just like, wearing yourself out to the point where you just sleep well at night, and then you wake up and you're excited to just start again, like that's a different feeling than just being like, just wake up and be like, fuck it, I gotta do this today, like, that's a whole different mindset. And, I would say, whatever can get a person to a point where they have that kind of passion for something that they're doing, even if it's not your job, even if it's not how you make an income, just having something in your day that every day you're doing that you actually care about, that you actually like strive as like part of yourself, that you really genuinely want, and you feel like you kind of almost need that in your life, creatively, just to kind of like, be, authentically your own self, and just like a part of yourself, and like represent and express yourself. I think that's one of the best places to be, is to have that and know what it looks like, know what it is, and do it. Definitely easier said than done, but I do think that it really works wonders for people. It's a very valuable, experience to have. And, I think it's hard to get there, and it's almost like, this isn't the same thing, but have you ever had like, a group of friends, or like a specific person, or just like a crew that you're like, you guys always have a great time. It's always a blast. There's never any kind of like animosity, no like, massive tension. There's like nothing that's like really a big kind of problematic situation. And you're always used to having just like the best of it when you're together. And have you ever been with someone like that, or a crew of people that are like that, and then you've kind of fallen off for like a while, let's say like 6 months or something, like maybe you're in touch but not really, you just kind of like send memes here and there or whatever, and then you meet up again, and you have like maybe a weekend, maybe 2 days together, like maybe a Friday night and a Saturday night, and then everybody splits Sunday morning, right? And so you have those days together, and you're with one another, and you're, just, you're with one another, and you're trying to just, you have a good time together, and then you go back your separate ways back to where your life, what you just left, to go meet with each other. And then that feeling of like, I still want to talk to these people. Like, I'll still text them, call them. And that lasts for like a little bit at least, right? Like, usually it's like right after you meet someone and you have a great time like that, it's like you'll notice it's like, oh, we kind of stay in touch a little bit after that. And we call each other a little more and talk a little bit more often. And it's kind of like you got that kind of flame rekindled back, like it kind of just... It's something like that, like you kind of just get a little bit of a taste of, some part of your lifestyle, or some part of your, some part of something in your life that is beneficial and worthwhile and important and valuable to you. And then, usually, even if it is like a weekend thing or a one-day meetup kind of reunion type thing, you kind of stay in touch for a little bit of time. and you think about each other for at least a little bit of time, if not longer. I mean, the more you start making plans, the closer to date the closer the dates together are. Like if you're not seeing each other only every 6 months or every 1 year, but you're seeing each other like every like month or something at a certain point, it's like, yeah, that flame definitely gets rekindled and it gets stronger, and you can kind of be like, okay, like we're kind of like united again, or reunited again or whatever. Versus if you don't do that, then it's like it's a little different, right? It's kind of like, oh, you know, like if you had a bad time, you're probably not gonna like stay back in touch again. But when you have a really good time, it kind of reminds you of like, oh, I remember our childhood when we used to meet up, or I remember like when we first met and we were in school together and we used to like hang out, and like you have all these memories and this history, and it kind of rekindles that again. And it kind of like lights the fire a little bit, and then you start like getting back in touch again, and like, even if it is temporarily, because I've noticed those kinds of things, like people just settle back into their day-to-day life however it was, and things like that. So, but just like finding, the reason why I mention that is like finding something that's like that kind of like rekindles that fire a little bit on a regular basis. I mean, for me, it's definitely music. Like I mentioned, I'm trying to get back into music more, and I've definitely noticed, I've been avoiding it, and maybe dismissing the importance that it's kind of held in my life for so long. Like I've been doing a lot of deep thinking, obviously maybe too much, and I was thinking about, because I'm back in like the childhood room that I've had, since like high school. I've still got my keyboard, I've still got my guitar amp, furniture. A lot of it, is like from high school and early college days. And, it kind of brings back a lot of memories. And I remember, I used to sit on my amp like every night almost in high school, and I'd probably play guitar easily like an hour almost every single night. I don't remember not playing. I used to play almost every single night, even if it was the same songs or the same riff over and over again, and it never felt like it was long. Like I was never timing it. Like basically I used to play till my back would hurt from like just having bad posture, because I didn't have like proper posture when I would play. And again, I'm sitting on my guitar amp. I sat on the amp because my desk chair, like my bed was too high. I like my knees at a certain like right angle, so that the guitar doesn't like slip off, because I don't really like playing standing too much. I prefer to play sitting if I can, and not really using the guitar strap too much. Like it's there, but I don't like, it's not like a necessity, just to make sure it doesn't fall or something. But yeah, I used to play sitting on my amp like every night, and sometimes I would have headphones, sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I'd play acoustic, sometimes it was electric, sometimes I'd even plug in, sometimes I wouldn't even plug in. It didn't really matter. Like I was just playing, and I did that like every single night. And I remember I was like, dude, like when I look back on certain years, I'm like, I don't think I had any coping skills, like whatsoever. Like, I definitely experienced a lot of depression, a lot of things that I had a really hard time dealing with, and I didn't know what was going on. I knew that some days I woke up and I just felt like I didn't want to go do what I needed to do, but I did it, and I knew that some days, I just wasn't like happy, or I didn't want to socialize, or I'd come back from school and just go to my room and just like crash out for a while, and then wait till dinner, and then I'd eat dinner, and like I felt just like fatigued a lot, drained a lot, just low motivation a lot. Like I can link together the pieces, because that is about the time, there was a certain time when I kind of stopped doing routine PE like every day, because I'd finished all my high school PE credits by like junior year, And so I didn't do PE my junior and senior years. And I did play sports a little on weekends, but it wasn't like every day anymore. And, I would play with my band like Friday and Saturdays. And, I would go to church Fridays and Saturdays. And I'd have sports on Sundays. So I always kind of looked forward to the weekends, but I would just have just like miserable weeks. Like I wasn't going to the same school as my friends. Like I kind of knew people, but I didn't really care to know them. I'm like, I'm only here 2 years, and all these people knew each other since like middle school or junior high, or even like the first couple years of high school. And I was coming in my junior year, so I didn't really like know people like that. And like, so like I didn't really have too much of a desire to kind of like make new friends and fit in, or like whatever. I was just like here to study, get good grades, make sure I could like do good once I got into college. And otherwise I just wanted to hang out with my other friends. Like I wasn't really too into that kind of like it's not like there was anything wrong with the kids. I liked them, but it was kind of like a whole culture I wasn't used to. Like I was used to private schools. I was used to a certain kind of like religious environment back then, and like it was like a culture shock. I was like, what am I doing here? But yeah, like I don't know, that was a hard couple years. And I don't think I had any coping skills. Like I don't think I even identified if I had depression or anxiety or insomnia or like anything. I was just like, whatever. I just knew I felt like crap a lot of the time. Even when I look at like drawings and paintings from that time period, a lot of it is just like dark colors. Like it was always night in my paintings. It was always night with maybe like a dim street light, or like a little like light from the moonlight, or like something. Like there was no color hardly in any of my drawings, and when it was like from a nighttime point of view. It's really dark, like we would make these projects for school sometimes, and like I just like give them to my folks to put on the fridge, or whatever. Like you're done with the project for class, and I did as much art projects as I could. And and mostly I was just playing music and doing art, and that was the way I got through. Like that was the only thing I knew how to do, and I knew I felt better when I did it. And I never really was able to like, I just never understood it. I was just like, okay. But then once I got super busy in grad school, eventually, like after the grad school in LA, once I moved to San Diego, and about like the third or second year in, when I started having issues, and I stopped. That's when I got out of everything. I stopped being involved with like anything church related. And I'm not saying that church is really like it's, for me, church was like a cultural thing. It was more like, this is like socially where I'm comfortable, even though I kind of didn't like a lot of the aspects of it. But socially it was kind of like what I understood, because I was kind of like socialized that way. So I kind of understood that kind of environment. I'm not trying to preach to say people have to go to church or whatever. You guys know I don't care. But yeah, I was just used to it because culturally I was raised like that. I was raised doing those kinds of things. I was used to, doing sports at least once or twice a week. I was used to going to the gym. I did start going to the gym when I first moved to San Diego, but about my second year in, I kind of stopped going to the gym. I stopped eating healthy. I started eating fast food all the time. Like, I stopped playing guitar. That's about when I stopped playing guitar, stopped playing pickup games of sports, stopped going to the gym. Like, I stopped doing everything that could possibly work in my favor. And instead, I went and just studied all day and all night. And that didn't help me at all. Because I was never feeling rested. I was never feeling unstressed. Like I was able to unwind. I was always just like tightly wound, barely sleeping, barely functional. And of course, I couldn't maintain that, but I also didn't put two and two together. Like even then, I didn't really know to put two and two together. But yeah, like, those are the things that I think I would say are life lessons I've learned. You know, don't stop playing sports, don't stop playing music, don't stop doing artistic things, don't stop creating, just never stop any of that kind of stuff. you know, because for a lot of people, it's really what sustains them, just like their day to day. It'll help things to kind of stay balanced, stay on track, stay focused, stay functional, versus getting like some weird, just nowhere to put your energy, but internally, like into yourself, you basically implode. Basically, that's what happens, like you just can't function like that. Most of us can't, you don't get any momentum. You wake up with just like, you're already drained by the time you get out of bed. It's like, you can do it short term, but if you try to do it for like years on end, I mean, it definitely doesn't help, to not have anything, to really, deal with things. And if you're not going to do that kind of stuff, at least like coping skills types of things like breathing and meditations and, that kind of stuff. But, I'm more of a like, I like the kind of more like active kind of like creative types of things where I can kind of see the result. It's like, okay, like, I was, maybe a little stiff and, my muscles kind of tight, and I went to the gym or did some yoga, and now I definitely notice I feel different. Or like I was kind of like stressed out and I listened to like the Slipknot album and now I feel a little better. Or like, stuff like that. Like healthy, it's kind of healthy. Like it's not like you're just like, okay, I don't feel good, let me have like a few beers or like a couple whiskey shots or something. Like, of course, like it's not gonna kill you really to like have like a little bit of alcohol here and there, but it's like, I feel like it doesn't really do anything. It just kind of does a little bit, but it's not anything. You don't have anything to show for it, and I'm usually a big like, okay, if I have something to show for this, I like to have something to show. I like to have something to show. And so to me, having something to show is one of the more helpful ways to kind of, for me anyways, to kind of get things where I want them to be. I really like to have something to show. Whether that's, I got a little bit of a muscle pump, or my muscles feel a little loosened up, or my mind feels a little more focused or lighter, or, I don't feel as stressed or irritable. Like, I like to see results within like 30 minutes to an hour that are going to last, for at least the rest of the day mostly. And I've noticed, just doing things like that helps. But, yeah, like it's hard to keep that fire going, and, by neglecting every single thing, it's like, you gotta keep at least one thing, you can't neglect all of it. And so, that's just kind of my examples of, that kind of idea of like passion and, like when you really want something, it could be career focused and like, yeah, I really want, a house, or I really want, a degree, or I really want this or that, kind of like a long-term planning, but it doesn't have to be like a serious thing. Usually it's something that is serious to you because you value it, and so you're going to want to do it wholeheartedly and actually want to be there. Like, you want to feel like you want to be there every time when you're doing something. Nobody likes to feel like, I don't want to be here. I'd rather be sleeping, or I'd rather be not doing this, when you have to be doing something for like multiple hours of a day, every day, beyond, how often you want to actually be doing it. So that's what I have to say about that page. As far as my schedule, I kind of explained it a little bit. But just going through today's daily routine, my day routine today. So last night I had some melatonin around 3 p.m. That was Thursday night. Come into Friday, I woke up at, I say 10 a.m. I did wake up a couple times before that, but the melatonin kind of kept me asleep, so enough, so that was good. I had breakfast, brunch, I don't know, it wasn't breakfast. Little bit of C4 before breakfast. That kind of got me going. I screwed around with this Google Fi data SIM card for a while, got Google Fi working. All this nonsense with the freaking internet, and I finally noticed that the TP-Link was good enough. I could use the software I want. It's just I have to use headphones. That's the only thing. Like, my music software works with the TP-Link Wi-Fi, but I have to use headphones. Because if I don't use headphones, the speakers through the laptop, just everything sounds like delayed and muffled for some stupid reason. I don't even care. It works as it is. And I'm not going to use it without headphones anyways, because, I don't really like the speakers. Like, this laptop isn't really built for, like, music production or, like, anything. It's not really built for anything. It's not built for gaming, nothing. It's, like, it's almost an equivalent of, like, an updated netbook that they used to have, like, kind of those, like, functional laptops that's, like, thin and, it works, you could do word processing, watch videos, movies, whatever, but it's not for, like, creatives, it's not for gaming, it's not for video production, it's not for music production, it's not for, photo editing. You can do all that stuff on there, but it's, like, not that strong of a computer to, like, do all that stuff. But I know that it can push, like, it's not weak. So I'm like, I know as long as I keep it pretty empty, it'll be able to, like, do all this stuff. And so that's why I was, whatever, I'm not going to get into it because I got it working the way I need it now, and it took me most of the day. So then I realized, shoot, I'm going to return this Netgear Nighthawk M1. I'm going to do that today so I don't have to do it Saturday, so that Saturday I don't have to do anything but get where I'm going. So I went to return the Nighthawk hotspot, and I removed the Google Fi data SIM. I packaged everything up. So around 2:33 I took a shower. Around 2:58 went over to the post office to mail this thing. It didn't take that long because I was out of there by 3:05 or 3:03 or so, and I was home around 3:06, which was great because then I was, I skipped all the school traffic. Like, I feel like if you wait till like 3:10, 3:15, traffic gets really bad because school gets out at 3, and it does take the kids a while to walk out, or like people to get to their cars and the cars to get back on the road. So I was like, let me get out of here and like get to the stupid post office. Had supper around 3:17 p.m. I don't know what to call it. Maybe lunch. I don't know. Like, I'm eating at weird hours. I watched some musician interviews. I studied at 4:20 to about 5:08 p.m. Fell asleep basically. Woke up at like 6:22. I didn't really write down what I was doing. I ate dinner around like 9 something. And just, I don't know, from about 10:30 p.m. or so I've been just listening to music. And I'm totally happy with my day. I had some yerba mate really late. It was probably around like 10:30 p.m. Cause I'm trying to stay up. I mean, it was like around 9 actually. It was around 9:30. Um, I usually will never drink that much caffeine, but I'm trying to push a little bit. And so I don't know if I mentioned. Did I mention? So last night I was up late, looking through some old guitar tabs. Dude, I found these guitar tabs from like 2001. Okay, like the year 2001. From the year like 2003, 2005. Like songs I had printed. I know that's the year because I had written the dates on them, and I had printed out some stuff off the internet. I haven't printed something off the internet in so long, I don't even know what it looks like anymore. But I don't know if you remember back when you used to print stuff off the internet. It might still be the same, but it has that like link at the bottom, and then it usually says like the date. I don't know if it does that anymore. Maybe it does, but yeah. Actually, I did print a shipping label today. That's the first thing I printed in like probably like years. Maybe I think I printed my tax forms last year at like a Kinko's. But I don't know. I haven't really looked at a lot of like printed out pages in a really long time. So like I try not to be printing out a whole bunch of stuff anymore, and I haven't had a printer for a while. So I mean, I just haven't needed one. Like for work, I didn't need one. The only time I really needed one was when I was doing like shipping labels and stuff. But yeah, I haven't needed a printer in a really long time. But yeah, I was looking at these old tabs I'd printed out. I remember there was a show that me and a couple friends were gonna do. It was me and two other females. We were gonna do some covers by like Minor Threat and Dead Kennedys and Adolescents and I think another band. I can't remember who. And so I had like the song orders of those songs. There were so many freaking songs. There was some tab printout from like 2005 from some AFI song that my friend wrote on there. This is the song that I'm always playing that you like. And it was in her handwriting. It was so funny. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, and you know, it was just cool. Like, I'm like, that's kind of cool that like, you know, I had all these like weird old ass things from like high school. Like I was still in high school, like, and I still have like the literal papers. And so I kept them. I have like this. I don't know how to explain it. It was like I made a folder. Like it's not a real folder. It's like, you know, when you remember those notebooks? Like they still make them, but it was like those notebooks that, you know, they would be like the college ruled lined paper, but the front and back would be kind of like a not like a thick cardboard, like a thick kind of like cardstock paper, and they'd have like the front would be like one solid color, like a glossy solid like red or blue or green or yellow or white or whatever, and then like the binding would have like it looked like a black, almost like an electrical tape along the left side binding, and it would usually be 3-hole punched, and it would have like, I don't know, like 100 sheets of paper or something. So basically I took the front and back of one of those and took all the paper out of the middle and just stapled the front and back together and used that as just like a folder to slip in all my tabs, and I wrote on it. There was my own personal tabs as well as Civic Threat, because our band was Civic Threat. That was the name of our band. I think it was Trademark at one point. I think when we played at church, we were Trademark. But then when we played outside of church, we were Civic Threat. Because we would use like distortion and not play so much like contemporary Christian songs. And it would be like, kind of like Christian themed music, but not directly like biblical or anything. It was kind of like themes that you hear in like Christianity, like, about community service, or about like, I don't know what the heck our songs were about when I think about it. People trying to like, fight against, doing bad things, or just like, I mean, my favorite song was this one called Painkiller. Just kind of about like, it was just one of those teenage angst songs, like, can't stand, like, just how we couldn't stand, like, a lot of the pressure around, like, what we were dealing with. Like, the singer wrote the lyrics, and I never knew, who, like, I don't know. I don't know if I even remember the lyrics to these songs. But, but yeah, that's kind of what our music was about. It was like, but usually it was through church related, like, events, like teen events, and like, little band get-togethers and stuff like that. Like, that was pretty common in the 90s for those of us who were there. That was kind of like a common thing to get like 4 or 5 bands together, because everybody was in a band back then, at least in LA. Like, where I lived, everybody was in a band. Like, that's just how we socialized. Like, everybody had bands and was playing music and like athletic and stuff like that. And so you would just play sports and play music all the time. But yeah, you always had your crew, and like, you do whatever that thing was that you did together. And for us, it was music, and we did that. And but yeah, I still have some remnants of of that time when we used to do all those things. And it's just kind of crazy to come across, because I've since I've moved back over here, I have cleaned out a lot of stuff in my room, but it's like the folders, the journals, that kind of stuff, I kept them, but I didn't really look inside to see like what's there. I was just like, I'm not going to toss this. So for months, this thing has been sitting on my, keyboard, music stand. I have like a Carcassi, what is it? 25 Melodius. I can't read it from this distance. 25 Melodius and Progressive Studies, Opus 60. So I have that set of etudes. I have one of the S&M Metallica. It was like symphony. It's called that because it's San Francisco Symphony Orchestra and Metallica, SM. So they call it S&M from the S&M album. It was like a live album, but I think it was 2 CDs, but the sheet music was 2 books of sheet music. So I have one of the books of the sheet music, one book of guitar manuscript paper, from, I've had this, I don't know, a friend of mine gave it to me for like Christmas or a birthday, like way back in like probably like 2005 or something. So I've had 2 of those since. I don't remember where the other one is, but I think it's around somewhere. But she gave me 2 of those, as well as this other little music book that I barely looked in yesterday. And that other little music book had like some Chopin and Schubert and some other kind of sheet music that I hand wrote down. Mind you, I mean, back in the day, like, I didn't have like a device of any kind. Like, I didn't have a smartphone or a laptop. And so a lot of times when we didn't have printer, ink, or paper, I would just write stuff down by hand. I'd go online and see it, and I'd just sit there and like write it all down. I mean, this is probably why I wasn't doing too good in my classes sometimes, was because I spent a lot of energy doing this stuff, you know. And, but it kind of kept me going, like I really enjoyed doing it, but I never was like considering trying to take it to like any professional level, nothing like that. I was just like, I love this, and, you know, I did it more for myself because I loved it, like I wasn't, like even the bands I played in and stuff, I wasn't like too into the music, but I was like, well, at least I get to play. I'd rather play what other people like and be able to play with a band than to not do that. But I'm really into heavier music, and only one other person in that band was in the heavier music, and everyone else kind of like soft rock, and I wasn't really into soft rock, but they were into kind of more like acoustic rock. And I was kind of like, bro, like we need to like get our electrics out and like add some distortion. Like I need this to like, I need to be palm muting and freaking like drop detuning this guitar. Like I'm not trying to like play like, it was almost like the difference between playing like Goo Goo Dolls and Metallica. Like it was kind of like that kind of difference. Like they kind of wanted like an acoustic version. Like if you think of all the acoustic sets that they used to do on MTV, like Nirvana, Foo Fighters, like all the acoustic sets, it was almost like that, like acoustic sets. I didn't want to play acoustic. I was like, I like electric, and I like it loud, and heavy and fast. But we didn't have a lot of songs like that, because especially the audiences we were playing to were sometimes really Christian, and we knew that we wouldn't be able to just write only songs like that and then be able to play them everywhere. We had to play songs that we could just kind of like play on acoustic, and it would sound good in a church, and nobody would complain and be like, oh, it's like blasphemy or whatever. So like yeah, I don't know, good times. Yeah, I brought back a lot of memories for myself last night, staying up late and looking at all this stuff, and it was really fun. But yeah, like it's gonna be a weird time for me. It is a weird time for me. It's gonna be a weird time. Like the music I'm writing now, lately, is real weird. I've never written anything like it before. It's strange. Like it's just 2023 music that I have no idea what the hell. Like I'm not really influenced by anything. It's just my own style of music. That's just what I'm doing. For the last grand finale of this break I'm on, there's going to be a lot of music coming out of it. I've been writing, like I mentioned before, like I've been doing a lot of journaling, writing, kind of riff writing, just kind of like thinking of ideas and stuff. It's all like in my head, but like I can think musically very well. I can't play everything that I can think, but I can think through music very well. It's kind of interesting. And so a lot of times when I spend daydreaming, I kind of like to just think about music and stuff, and like I'll think of songs and I'll just completely forget them afterwards, and that's fine. But yeah, I've been finding a lot of enjoyment in things lately because I've been definitely participating in things that I love. But I think, playing around with all the like old paper that's been like in drawers for like 20 years or something, I think I gave myself a little bit of a sinus infection because I'm a little allergic to dust, and I definitely noticed having to like wash off my skin before I went to bed yesterday, because I could kind of feel that there were like little dust particles because I was wearing like a tank top, and then I think some of it got into my sinuses, I'm pretty sure, because I woke up with this weird sinus kind of issue going on. It's not a full-blown cold, it's just sinus problems. But Anyways, I've got about an hour or so to be up, so I'm gonna do some other stuff. And it's a late post, but for me, I'm ending my Friday soon, even though it's like after 2 a.m. So, all right, with that, thanks for listening.